Hello, everyone. My name is Omome Etomi. I'm one of the medical registrars at St. George's University Hospital. It's my pleasure to take you through some induction materials this morning that hopefully helps you get a bit more familiar with things here in the acute medicine unit. So first thing to say, it's a very friendly unit. It's a large team with lots of varied cases, which gives lots of opportunities for growth and to see lots of interesting cases and manage a wide range of medical conditions. There's a great opportunity for procedures, both on the main ward, which is Richmond, and also in the ambulatory assessment area. There's various shift types, which we'll go through a bit later on in this. But one of the really important things to say from the beginning is that because we're such a large unit, because we're such a friendly team, we work really flexibly. We offer help when it's needed, and just look out for your colleagues and see where they might need you to step in. In terms of the educational opportunities, so there's a wide range of patients with varying acuity, varying complexities, and that means that by virtue of managing those conditions, there's lots of opportunities to meet your educational needs. In terms of the lunchtime teaching, on Monday afternoons, there's a protected teaching time, which also includes governance meetings once a month. On the rest of the days, there's a variety of specialist teachings covering a wide variety of topics. There's Wednesday lunchtime teaching, which is similar. On Thursdays, the grand rounds is a whole hospital teaching program attended by different specialties. And on Fridays, there's a really interesting X-ray meeting with a consultant radiologist, which gives you the opportunity to bring interesting scans that you've seen in the week, or perhaps scans that you have questions or you'd like to seek a bit more clarity on in terms of the clinical picture. Currently, the teaching is a mix of face-to-face in the Richmond seminar room if you're at work, socially distanced with Microsoft Teams in case the seminar room is a bit full, and also the opportunity to join in the teachings on your day off if you would like to, or if you see a topic that piques your interest. There's also opportunities to increase experience in procedural skills. We have a really dynamic, really interesting simulation department, and they put on procedural skills day as well. And finally, and I think this is really important, maybe for the trainees in particular, there's lots of opportunities to lead on audits and quips. So a little bit of a guide to the take team and working on the medical take at St. George's Hospital. So if you're not quite familiar with what that means, this is the acute admitting team, which covers a 24-hour period. So there's a day team and a night team. So when you arrive to work, and if you can see just at the bottom here, these are the main doors into Richmond Ward. The take team is based in AAA and AMC, so directly to your right once you enter the unit. That is the heart of the admitting team. You work quite closely with the nurse practitioners there as well. Upstairs to the AMU seminar room is where you tend to take handover from the night team. And then in between, you have the bays on the unit, the main reception, and the AAA reception as well. The timings of the day shift. So you meet at 8:30 in the ambulatory assessment area. And that's, like I said, on Richmond Ward, just on the right-hand side. And there's really clear signage to let you know where to go. The AAA board rounds are at 12:30 and 5 o'clock. The take registrar is required at both of these meetings, and the booster registrar is required at the 5 o'clock meeting as well. It's a really helpful way for the consultants, the registrar, the flow coordinator, the pharmacist, and the nurse in charge to touch base, understand the pressures, the demands from the front door, and have a good understanding of the plans, the people that are expected to go home, or the people that need downstream beds fairly soon. Handover at 9 o'clock in the evening is attended by both the ward cover team and the day team. It's led by the consultant on call, and everyone is expected to attend. Again, so that's the far end of Richmond Ward. Up the stairs is the seminar room. The night handover is really important for the night team to have situational awareness of the acuity of the hospital, the sickest patients, and you start by going through the ward cover list. After that, the take team then have the opportunity to hand over the patients that are waiting to be seen, as well as patients from the daytime that need acute reviews overnight or any outstanding jobs. It's helpful to keep the handover as succinct as possible. So focus on any outstanding jobs, anyone that's sick. If people are stable and don't need much doing, you can kind of move on fairly rapidly, just to keep the handover as short as possible, but also to make sure that the salient points stand out. The day shift ends around 9:30 at the end of handover, and then everyone goes home. The night shift actually starts at 9 o'clock, and that gives a little bit of an overlap for the handover period. And one thing to say is that the take SHO and take F1 don't need to attend the handover. They can get started clerking downstairs. The night registrar will go to the handover, supported by the hospital night practitioners, the consultant on call, and the rest of the acute team. In the mornings, the post-take ward round with the consultant usually begins at 8 a.m. So it's really important that the list is prepared for then with accurate patient locations, and then you can start the ward round. Shifts end at 10 a.m. So you've had a couple of hours to go through the patients admitted overnight with the consultant. Anyone outstanding is handed over to the post-nights team, and then you get to go home. So in terms of handover, it's in the AMU seminar room on the first floor. It's led by the on-call consultant. The booster registrar, who comes on at 5 p.m., carries the bleep to cover the handover period so that the day take registrar can have an uninterrupted handover to the nighttime registrar. And the booster registrar just takes the handovers in that period and also supports with any cardiac arrest calls should they go out. The night team is supported by incredible night practitioners who have very good experience of the hospital and have a really sound understanding of what is available overnight. They can also help out in terms of accessing different specialties and also help you out if you have a really sick patient that you're worried about. It's always great to have them on board too. There's a hospital at night nighttime WhatsApp group. So you join it, say for example, you're doing 4 sets of nights. You join the WhatsApp group on your first set of nights, and then on after your last night shift, you leave the group. So it's a rolling group, as it were, with just the people that are on call together in a specific period of time. The opportunity for the handover is to go through the sick patients, the ones that need to be reviewed, and any outstanding jobs that need to be done. You then, after the ward handover, go through the take list. If you can't attend as you're stuck with a sick patient, which can be the case, it's important that you bleep someone at handover, and there's lots of people you can contact. You can contact the registrar, you can even contact the consultant to let them know that you're tied up, or you can contact one of the night practitioners. It just means that you're not stuck alone in a situation and no one really knows where you are. And it's actually really important that someone from the night team can come, take over whatever you're doing, and at least continue with that situation. In terms of who you have on your team in the daytime, so there's 3 people in the take team. That's the medical registrar, the SHO, and the F1. And you work together from 8:30 in the morning through till the end of the day. However, at about 12:30, there's reinforcements that join your team. So the AMC clinic registrar, the AMC SHO, and the second AMC SHO, who's also on a long day, will join the team as well. There's a possibility of a twilight clerking SHO, but the important things to say are you do get reinforcements as the day goes on. There's a booster registrar that comes on at 5 o'clock. They're also the person that holds the bleep to cover the handover period at nighttime, and a booster SHO as well. There's 2 acute nurse practitioners in AAA. And again, we all work as part of the same team. So they will see some ambulatory pathway patients like cellulitis or DVT, but those patients can also be seen by the take team. So we work flexibly and we just work to help each other out. There is an AMU2 SHO, who is the ward cover SHO specifically for Richmond. So they cover the units in terms of jobs handed over from the day team. They do also help with clerking because it isn't always a very busy shift. And they can also help out with specialty admissions as well. In terms of the night team, again, 3 core people. You have the medical registrar, you have the medical SHO, and you have the medical F1, and they all come on shift together at 9 o'clock. The medical SHO and the medical F1 don't have to attend the night handover. They can start clerking immediately. The medical registrar, however, does. There is an AMU2 SHO, similar to the daytime. They're the ward cover SHO for AMU, but they also help with clerking and they cover specialty admissions as well. They are the first point of call if someone who's not from the acute take becomes unwell on the unit. But again, you work very closely as a team overnight. You're all based in the same area. So let the registrar know if there's anyone that you're worried about, and the registrar will also let you know if your help is really needed on the clerking. In terms of the other ward cover SHOs, there is a Lanesborough Wing SHO covering the medical wards on Lanesborough Wing, a St. James Wing SHO, which is similar for St. James Wing, and 2 site practitioners. So in terms of clocking, we do have some clocking templates. This screen is a screenshot which shows you iClip, which is our computer system. Right here in the red box is how you find the clocking templates, which helps to structure your clockings and means that important information isn't missed out. So you add a new document by pressing the plus sign, and then you search in the pre-configured area, i.e. pre-established templates. You search for clocking, and then there are 2 main entries that's really important for you to know about. The first is the clocking medical review, which is your clocking. And the second is the clocking post-take medical consultant, and that's what you use on the post-take ward round. So here for your clocking entry, what you want really is a succinct presentation of whatever information you've got from the patient, also putting in your key areas, past medical history, social history, what treatment they were giving in the emergency department before they came, your assessment, and what your differential diagnosis is. A summary, essentially your impression, and then your plan. Here is an example of the post-take ward round entry. The prompts here are really important, and it's important that you fill them in as accurately as possible. So every patient that comes through the unit needs VCE plan. So even if that includes withholding it for any reason, that should be documented, and VCE assessment should still be completed. If there are any specific nursing tasks that you want them to be mindful of or to hand over, that should be documented. Every patient needs a resuscitation status. And again, even if that should be for full escalation, that should be documented and completed on the resus status templates. An estimated length of stay, which helps planning and triage downstream, and the most appropriate ward. And these are all questions that you can ask the consultant that you're going around with. What is the most appropriate ward? That's their triage, the resus status, the VCE. So in the daytime, there are 2 consultants on the unit. There is a consultant who is linked to the AMC clinic and a consultant who will be on take with you through till 9:30. During the day, they're present throughout. So there's continuous post-taking as the day goes on. So intra-take typically occurs as a rolling continuous process once a patient has been clocked. You clock a patient, the consultant's available to post-take, and the day goes on in that way. The consultant facilitates the 2 board rounds, so the 12:30 board round and the 5 o'clock board round, to advise on which patients look potentially suitable for home, which patients need to be ambulated, and which patients need admission to hospital. At nighttime, however, you have a continuous clocking period without the consultant physically being present, and then the post-take ward round starts at 8 o'clock by the main reception in Richmond Ward. And the night team is joined by what we call the post-nights team, which is quite a unique shift title at St. George's. So the post-nights team is a team, usually 1F1 and an SHO, who look after all the patients who have been admitted the night prior. So the important things are to have a list ready, because everyone needs to know where your patients are. So make sure the locations are as accurate as possible, and also make sure the portable computers are ready and cleaned. All computers need to be cleaned at the start of your shift, so that when the consultant and the post-nights team arrive at 8 o'clock, you're ready to go with as few delays as possible. Because 2 hours is not a long time if you've had a really busy shift. So you want to be able to hit the ground running. The ambulatory assessment area, so this is really the heart of the admitting team. There's 12 beds, including 1 side room, and 2 chairs in which patients that don't necessarily need a bed can be sat on. Some patients come for infusions, that sort of thing. It's open from 8 o'clock in the morning through till midnight, and it's typically the first point to assess patients from the medical tape. So there's quite a mixed variety. You'll have direct referrals from GPs. You'll have patients you're following up from the emergency department, so the cellulitis or the DVT pathway, or you'll have patients admitted from the emergency department that day that don't need to be directly admitted to the ward. Aim for patients, where possible, to be sent to AAA first. The reason for that is because quite a lot of them can be discharged after initial treatment or an initial assessment, and that way you've saved a direct admission to the bed. Some patients might not be suitable for AAA though. And so one of the rules of the medical registrar taking the referrals or the consultant speaking to GPs is assessing what patients are unstable, potentially too unwell, or almost meeting the criteria for level 2 care. Or as well, it's really important, obviously, in our COVID situation, that some patients might be deemed high risk for COVID pending a COVID result, or have other infection control reasons like query infectious diarrhea. They wouldn't be appropriate for an open area. So you work quite closely with the patient flow coordinator who allocates beds in A&E. You make it quite clear on the list if you have any concerns that a patient might not be suitable for AAA, but they're also based in the area with you. So you can just let them know and give them a heads up to say, that person I don't think should come here, or that person is perfect for AAA because I think I can get them home later. In terms of the take team and knowing who to see next, coordinate with the medical registrar. The med regs run the list in different ways. Some people will allocate patients as TBS, so to be seen 1 or 2 or 3. Some people prefer that you touch base with them after you've seen a patient so that they can let you know who needs to be seen next, really based on clinical urgency, but also based on how long they've been waiting for. So going a bit into the points of referral. So the vast majority of the referrals we get are from the emergency department, and all ED referrals go through the medical registrar on call. The second most common source is GPs, and there's a AAA consultant from 9 to 5 who holds the GP referral bleep. After 5 o'clock, the booster registrar holds that same bleep. So between 5 and 9:30, the booster registrar will take the GP referrals. And then overnight, the med-reg will take all referrals. There's some other established ambulatory pathways, which I've alluded to already, the DVT pathway, the cellulitis pathway, and there is a specific imaging pathway as well, which we can go a little bit through. Other referral sources, which are less common but certainly do happen with some frequency, are the stroke registrar referrals. So all thrombolysis calls will initially go through to the stroke registrar, but if they are a non-stroke, they will then be redirected to medicine and the stroke registrar will make a direct referral. The cardiology registrar will see all primary PCI calls, but will refer to the medics if it's a non-MI for a chest pain workup. Outpatient clinics also will make referrals if there are patients that need to be seen, if they're unstable, if they need potential admission or need acute care. At George's, we have Putney Neurodisability Hospital in the region, so typically complex patients with multiple care needs, and they will also make direct referrals. Another common source of referrals is Queen Mary's Hospital, Roehampton as well. The acute medical clinic is one of the shift types that you will have in the unit. It's a morning clinic that runs from Monday to Friday. It runs from 8:30 till 12:30. And it's run by the AMU registrar, the AMU SHO, and the AAA booster SHO who's on the long day, supervised by the AAA consultant. It's a mix of GP and emergency department referrals, and also patients from ward follow-up, in particular Richmond ward and Cavell ward, which are all under the acute medicine division. In the morning, the AAA consultant will review the list with you at 8:30. It's really important to be prompt, and will be the point of contact for any queries that come up. But the opportunity at 8:30 is to run through the list, have a loose structure of a plan, and have an understanding of what you might need to achieve for the patient. At the moment, the documentation from this clinic is currently on EPR Merlin. That's where we issue our clinic letters, and it's slightly different to the work we do on iClip, although that may change in the future. There are 12 slots in this clinic every morning. In the daytime, the way you book patients in is by writing the patient details in the AMC folder in the AAA reception. So the AAA reception staff who will help you with that and assist with that booking process, because they're very knowledgeable about how it works. There are 3 ways. You can see a face-to-face patient, you can have a purely virtual review, or you can have a telephone clinic as well. So they will let you know what the capacity is like. Overnight, all the bookings are through the medical registrar using the same folder, and there are instructions on the front of the folder the first time you have to do it. It's fairly self-explanatory. There is a referral form, and that's just an opportunity to leave as much information as possible with either a referral letter or a discharge summary. It just means that whatever colleague of yours is picking up that patient to see them, they have an understanding of what you are asking them to achieve. Give the patient an information leaflet. It's found in the same folder. And it's really important because there is a bit of a wait time. It's a dynamic clinic. For them not to expect that it's a traditional clinic where you kind of come in, get seen, and go home. They might have to wait for blood tests. We might be able to expedite scans. So patients have to have an understanding that there is a degree of flexibility required around the clinic. In terms of the criteria, when you're taking the referrals, the patients have to be ambulant. It's really difficult if they're not. They need to be stable enough from discharge if they're being seen in the emergency department. And they need to be contactable if it's going to be a telephone clinic. So bear in mind patients that have a hearing impairment or don't have a mobile phone or can't get to their phone easily. Have a think about the most appropriate way to follow them up. There are other specialty clinics that run in AAA, run by the consultants that we have in the unit, and they run in the afternoons. So the AMC clinic, 8:30 to 12:30, and then in the afternoon, the specialty clinics run. On Monday, there's a diabetes pit stop clinic that's helpful to tie in any other diabetic patients for a follow-up. On Tuesday, there's an AKI clinic, and there's a direct referral pathway for any AKIs you see with a referral form on the intranet. There is a plural list on Wednesdays, and that can be booked through the plural nurse. On Thursday, there's a frequent attender clinic, and again, that can be booked through the AAA reception staff. And on Fridays, there is a headache clinic, again, can be booked through the AAA reception staff as well. So any headache patients that you have that need follow-up. And it's really helpful to know what specialty clinics there are, because these are all common presentations that we see. And then at least you can know where, if a patient's well enough to go home, but you think they need to be seen fairly soon, there's lots of pathways to get them seen. The other pathways available are the DVT pathway, and that runs Monday to Friday. There's two ways this happens. So if you've seen a patient directly that you think might have a DVT, you can write their details in the AAA folder, which is different to the AMC folder, and you access that through the nurse practitioners in the daytime, and overnight it's a red folder. What you want to do is you want to book the patient a clinic appointment to be reviewed, but you also want to book their scan, if possible, on the same day. So what you want to do is request the ultrasound Doppler on iClip. And in Richmond, we have a specific AMU ultrasound list with 11 slots per day every morning. And you access via the L drive, and there's a screenshot here, the AMU ultrasound list. So you have a patient that you think might have a DVT, they're ambulant, you can give them initial treatment, you request their ultrasound, you book them in an ultrasound slot, and then you write their details in the AAA folder so they can have a clinical review after their scan, and then they can then follow the pathway from there, whether it be a DVT or an alternate diagnosis. So this is the example of the list. So these are the 11 slots we have every day. Put the patient details on, put the scan that you've requested on iClip, and then just the clinical information as to why that's needed. Every scan appointment is a single scan, if that makes sense. So if for any reason you wanted to do bilateral Dopplers, you need to book 2 appointments for that and take up 2 slots. We can scan other sites too, so you can book ultrasound livers if you have, say, a patient with deranged LFTs or an A&E referral with deranged LFTs that needs rapid follow-up. You can book ultrasound renal tract for AKI patients. This list can be accessed by patients in Richmond as well, Richmond and Cavell. As long as they are ambulant, they can transfer independently and they're stable enough to go down to the scanning room in AAA. We have another really, it's a really important service actually. It's called the AMU CT Pilot, and it's a really, really helpful service. So patients that need CT scans, we have 2 slots every day, Monday to Friday in the morning, that we can book into and that radiology will keep reserved for Richmond. And these are patients with possible PEs, with suitable for ambulation, or if you're seeing someone in the AMC clinic with a suspected malignancy of unknown origin, you can access CT scans for them very quickly. You have to include details, however, of who will follow up the patient. So whether you're going to bring them back to AMC clinic or whether they're going to a 2-week wait clinic, or whether you're going to book them into a telephone clinic. You book the CT on iClip, so you request it, you discuss with the radiologist to get the scan vetted, and once that's done, you can then put their details down in the AAA CT pilot list. You let the patient know the time of their scan, ask them to come in half an hour early to get cannulated if it is a contrast scan. And then after the scan, they leave, and then you decide when you're going to follow them up. So to access it, again, this is the screenshot. It's in a similar area to the ultrasound list. So you find the list, you open it here. There is a database password, which I won't say, but is embedded in the title. And then you can access it. It looks like this. So 2 slots every day. You want the patient details, you want the indication for the scan, and then you want to also, you have to say where you'll be reviewing the patient. So whether that be AMC on the same day or the following day or whatever date that's going to be. And you have to say which of the radiology registrars has vetted and agreed to the scan, and their name as well. It just helps if there's any issues in the future. There is a cellulitis pathway. It's one of our other ambulatory pathways. So this tends to be patients from either GP or A&E who had a clinical diagnosis of cellulitis. They are not septic. They are ambulant enough to come in for once daily antibiotics. You establish their allergy status, and if needed, there's a plan from microbiology about what you'll be administering. So you have to make sure before accepting these patients that they are appropriate for ambulatory care. And that's one of the reasons, like I said. Liaise with the nurse practitioners in AAA because they are very experienced and they have an understanding of who may or may not be appropriate, and add the details into the written folder in AAA, so similar to the GBT booking. Just going through the take list, which again is the main document you'll be working on when you're on call. There is a shared take list with the take team for medicine. So everyone, the consultants, the registrars, the SHOs, the nurse practitioners, all work from the same list. You can access it from all trust computers as long as you have access to the Richmond Drive, which you will. It's password protected, so you can ask for the password in AAA. This is an example of the take list. It's hosted on Microsoft Access. When the registrar or the consultant, whoever is taking referrals, it's very important that the information recorded is as accurate as possible. So you start with the dates and referral time. You put down all patients prior to being seen as AAA patients, which is the location that they're in. And then you want to say whether they're being taken by the day team or the night team, the patient's name, their date of birth, their gender, their hospital number, if they have one. Sometimes the GP referrals don't have a hospital number yet because they haven't been registered, but they should then at the very least have an NHS number. The presenting complaint for the referral, and it's really helpful here. So the plan is one of the ways that you can stay in constant communication with the team. So the registrar taking the referral might already have a sense of what the patient might need. And so then putting in salient points of information, i.e. CT head needed, or they need a repeat troponin at this time if you've had a chest pain referral from A&E. Some people also use this column to allocate the patients or give like an order that the patient should be seen in. The source of the referral is also really important. Have they come from ED, from a clinic, from diabetic pit stop, from diabetic foot clinic? It's just really helpful to see there. And here, when you first take the referral, know the patient hasn't been clerked. When you've seen a patient and you're ready for them to be post-take, you switch them from no to yes. Therefore, the consultant reviewing the list at a different computer is aware of what patients need to be post-taked. When you have clerked them, or when you have picked up a patient, you put your own name in this column, and this aspect where it says ward, bay, and bed is the most accurate location for the patient. So overnight, when you're getting ready for your 8 o'clock post-night ward round, this is the part that you want to make sure is as accurate as possible because of the moves that happen overnight. When the patient is post-take, you will change post-take ward round to yes from no. And the triage is helpful for the flow coordinator to understand, are you aiming to get them home? Do they need a specialist admission? Or are they headed, say, to ITU, HDU? And then the EDD is helpful as well. In terms of when you're putting your own name by the patient, it's important first that you've updated your name, your role in the team, and the bleep number, and that is on the staff tab here. Yeah. And then you can filter the list. That's a really helpful way to filter according to who's been seen or not seen, because really, if you're going to be picking up a patient, you want to see all the patients that haven't been seen yet. And you can also filter by what staff member has seen the patient. So if you want to filter to all the patients that you've seen personally, because you want something for reference, or you want to, I don't know, prepare the plan for handover outstanding jobs, you can filter that as well. So it's a really dynamic list. The next piece of information is how to set up the list. So because it's a rolling list over a 24-hour period and it's tied to whatever consultant has been on call in that period, it's very important that the list is archived and reset for every next on-call team shift. And we'll go through setup a little bit, but a few tips on using the list. Make a general plan for the patient, include the salient things that you think are absolute necessities to be done. Have some indication of the severity. Are they someone that needs to be seen by ITU? Is ADU, which is our level 2 area, a bit more appropriate for their care? It's the way that you're communicating with the wider team, so the flow coordinator, the consultant, the nurse in charge, if you can't directly speak to them. You need to identify if someone has a high or low infectious risk. So that might be high risk COVID, pending a swab, or infectious diarrhea, or any other reason, shingles, something that means that they might need a sidrum. It's helpful to document that on the list as well. It's really important. Plans for investigations that nurses can often help with. So if you say on the list, repeat trop needed at 1 p.m., the nurse in charge will pick up on that and make sure that someone takes those bloods when it's needed, or serial ECGs if that's needed. Refresh the list regularly so that you have the most accurate information, because so many people are working on it at the same time. If you make a change on the list, refreshing it saves that change. Put your name next to a patient when you know you're going to be seeing them next, or if it's someone that you're particularly keen to see. So for example, if the registrar's taken a referral for a sudden onset headache and they might need an LP, you might not be ready to see the patient at that point because you're tidying someone else up. But actually, if you're an IMT and you really need an LP, you can put your name against that so that it almost stakes your claim and people know that you're wanting to see that patient. And then once you've seen them change to yes on the screen, it just means that you're ready to post-take, and then the consultant knows that. So this is what I was talking about in terms of archiving the list before the night shift. So the archiving of the list is done at the end of each day, and it's to be done by the outgoing day registrar at the end of their shift, so at 9 o'clock, just before handover. What you want to do, and there's a few screenshots just to help this a little bit clear, is there is a tab at the top of the list called the 9:30 setup, and that's what you click, and you only click it once, and then you click the red button, you only click that one. Instructions will then come up on the page to let you know what the next steps are. And one thing that's important to say is you want to answer yes to all the subsequent questions. And the first time you do it, and even when I still do it now, it says yes to you deleting information, but it's a safe system. It archives all the information that you need in a different folder. So nothing is lost forever, but it's very important to do. The audit trail shows who has exported the list. And if you have any problems at all, because it is IT and because things happen, you can contact the IT help desk on 3456, and there will be someone that can help you. There's also more contact information on the help tab should you need it. So just taking you through, so this is a screenshot of the list. You want to click the 9:30 setup tab, and then you want to click here once to archive today's list. And then you get this box come up, which is a series of questions, and you want to say yes every time. It's just confirming that you want to save the information, delete all the information, and reset the list. And it says you're about to delete 51 rows and you click yes. You're about to modify the data and you click yes. It tells you however many rows you're about to delete and you click yes. And you just keep clicking yes until the process is complete. And then the entire list is saved in the archive folder. And if you can see on the back here, it deletes all the information from the day and it saves only the patients left that need to be seen overnight. Printing the list, and you want to print the list before you do the setup. So you're printing the list for the shift you've just completed. So whether that be the daytime, you print the day take list, or whether it's been the nighttime, you print the night take list for the post-take ward round. So you select the print tab, you select what option you want, either day or night, and then the list is printed for you on the Follow You printers. Important fleet numbers, so there's a AAA consultant, there is a take consultant who's the on-call medical consultant until 9 p.m. There's a take registrar, there's a take SHO and a take F1. All the bleep numbers, including the names of whoever's on call that day, is listed on the AAA whiteboard. I hope that's been helpful. You may have some more questions, there'll be opportunities to address that, but a lot of this becomes self-explanatory when you do it. So I hope it's been a good overview to start with, and you can come back to this for reference whenever you need. Good luck.